What's up, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new challenge. First of all, happy Monday and welcome back to the Creative Challenge on Adobe Live. I'm your host, Kladi, and I'm here with you for one more week in diving inside Illustrator, in particular, sharpening your skills, learning new techniques. It doesn't matter if you are just a beginner or if you already have practice with Illustrator before. Those challenges are perfect to learn new techniques, but also if you already have some experience, they are great tips and they are great ideas in order for you to start a personal project and to maybe do another portfolio project or simply to experiment and to get inspired for your next work. So welcome everybody that is watching here and joining in the chat. I can see you tuning in on Behance and YouTube. This is actually live right now. We're live. In the meantime, before I say hello to everybody, I want to remind you that you can click on the link below in order to download the starter file. The starter file, it's incredible. It will allow you to join me and get you jump started with this challenge so you can follow along. You can download it right now, and then afterwards maybe you can bookmark this video, because I will also be available on demand, so you can watch a replay of this video afterwards, both on Behance and of course on the wonderful Adobe Live YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, because as you know already, if you've been at Adobe Live before, the fun never ends. There are so many amazing so many amazing streamers. And in the meantime, while you click on the link below for the starter file, I'm going to take a second to say a really quick hello to the chat. So hello, Barbara, Sean, what's up? Fergie, General Kenobi, what's up, everybody? Lauren, Jacqueline, Garrett from Leeds, and of course, our lovely Annika. And I gotta say, a little secret, if it wasn't for Annika, I would have probably tuned in 1 hour, because there's been a little bit of a time change going on. It looks like I was lost in the space time. So thank you, Annika, for making sure I was in the right place at the right time. And now I'm gonna go ahead and jump into my screen so I can give you a little bit of a heads up of how the starter file looks like. So let me go ahead and jump into the screen so you will be able hopefully to see it. Here it is. So once you go ahead and download the starter file, you will see that all we have here is pretty much an artboard that contains shapes that will allow you to create transition effects. In fact, today we're going to be focusing on a very unique challenge that focuses on branding. And what I want to talk about is how to maybe present your branding through a carousel inside your social media, in particular your Instagram. In fact, next to this main artboard, which is a work in progress drawing artboard, we can find another artboard which looks like a square. And this is because the default shown preview thumbnail inside of an Instagram post for a carousel is the ratio of 1:1, therefore that's a square. When you see 1:1, it simply means what is the relationship between the width and the size and the height. So in this case, 1:1 means that 1 unit of the height is exactly equal to 1 unit of the height. And in this case, so width and height are the same. In this case, 1080 by 1080 is the default that we're going to be using. In fact, the main tool that we're going to be focusing on today is the artboard tool. You can access the artboard tool inside the toolbar here at the bottom, or also by using the shortcut Shift O. This is the same shortcut both, of course, for Mac and Windows. So Shift O will give you access to the artboard. When you enter the artboard tool, you will see that you have this little marching ends, this little selection bounding box around the artboard that will let you know which artboard you have selected. Now, once you select an artboard, you can choose to move it around, or you can also head to the properties panel, and that lets you know right away what is the size. And that's exactly what I was mentioning before. So we have the 1080 by 1080. In this case, of course, it doesn't matter if it's portrait or landscape, because of course it's square. So as we move it around, it will have exactly the same size. And of course here, if you wish, you can explore more presets already available for you within Illustrator by default. So we have letter, legal, tabloid, A4, A5, iPhone. So here you find many different presets for print, for web. The most commonly used design sizes are there at your fingertips. Here also you can name your artboard. So if you wish, all you have to do is to double click on the field where it says artboard 2, and I'm going to call this one EG post. Now you will see once we're going to export this file, but when you export, when you name your artboard, you have a great advantage of having your file already named before you even do anything. So as soon as you export it, they're already named because you named the artboard, and that's such a huge time saver. I use it all the time. Press enter when you're ready. If you wish to access these options without heading to the properties panel, you can also do so by simply selecting the artboard and then pressing the enter or return key, and you will see that the artboard option dialog box will pop up, and here you have the name, the presets like we did before, the size, the weight, constraint, proportion, and all the different information that will allow you to customize the look of your artboard. And if you're wondering what is an artboard, the artboard is of course the white space that you can see within the pasteboard, which is the middle part of your workspace while working in Illustrator, and this is the part that will show when you are either printing or exporting a file. So everything that is in your white space is what is the result, the final output will look like. Everything that is sitting outside the artboard is not going to be displayed. So you can allow to have maybe some pieces of information that are bleeding out is the correct word outside the artboard, and that means that they will not be displayed once you export your file. Okay, when you're ready, just simply go ahead and click on OK. And something else that I want to show you here is I'm just going to go ahead and click on this artboard and the Alt key on Windows, there will be the Option key on a Mac, and simply click and drag in order to create a copy of the artboard. In this case, we do not have anything in the artboard, therefore the artboard is simply empty as the original one. But if you try and copy the one that has our transition elements and shapes, it tells you that our shapes are hidden, therefore they will not be moved. So if you click on OK, part of in this case, the label, which was hidden or locked, will not be moved. Everything else that is not locked will be moved. You have also the options on the properties panel to untick move artworks with artboard. So if I untick that, you will see now that if I go ahead and hold the Alt Option key and simply click and drag, I will only copy the artboard without the artwork. Okay, you can always click and on the artboard and also use the delete or the backspace to delete any artboard that you do not wish to use. And I'm going to do the same also with this element, which we just copy to create the example. Let me see if there is any question in the chat. Everybody's saying what's up. Sean, pro tip, hit the thumbs up for Kladi. Yay! Thank you so much. We definitely love a thumbs up in this stream. If you're enjoying the stream, make sure to show your appreciation. It means so much for us, streamer, and to see if you enjoy the content of our stream or not. So either if you're on YouTube or if you are on Behance, make sure to give me a thumbs up if you're enjoying the time together. It makes me really happy and allows me to understand if you're enjoying what we're learning here. Also, thumbs up in the chat, but thank you for all the thumbs up in the chat. But it really makes a lot of a difference for me if you just click it on under the actual video. But let's get going. No question, everybody's saying hello. Carol, lovely to see you. Louis, welcome. Michelle, Sam Peterson, lovely to see you here. And let's go ahead and move on. I'm going to jump into the actual meat of the stream, which is the branding part. So we have our file set up. We know how to create artboard. Very last step, actually, before we jump into the branding, is that the reason why I showed you how to create copies is because here you can go ahead and simply hold the Alt key and drag to create a copy of the post. And then if you use the Shift key, you will also be able to align your post just like so. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because if you ever created a carousel on Instagram, the way that the carousel looks like is basically a continuation made by a swipe. Now, you do not necessarily need to have your images. There are a few different ways in which we can operate. So one way is to just make sure that you have your artboard, they are like exactly next to each other. Or there is another way in which we can operate, which is simply to click on one single artboard to start with and then use the Alt Option key. Then we're going to go back thanks to the Enter or Return key inside the option. And as I mentioned before, the amazing Illustrator does a lot of math for you. So for example, I want to create a carousel that has 4 different posts, so or 4 different images. How do I know what is a 1080 by 4? Where you either you're a math genius, so you can probably do that on your mind. I can't do it. I don't have a calculator next to me, and I don't want to waste time. So all I'm going to do here is to head to the width, because I know that the width is the one that we're going to extend by 4 times, because we're going to have 4 posts that's going to sit next to each other, and then simply use the asterisk and multiply by whatever number we want. And look at that. If I press the asterisk and then 4, and then I either click away, we know automatically that 1080 by 4 is 4320. And this is because Illustrator does the math for you. Of course, you can divide it by 4 if you want to, and you can go back to our 1080 by 1080, but you have to multiply the number of the width by whatever number of images you want to show in your carousel, and then simply click on OK. And here you see that we already have a single artboard that is already the length of our full main image, and I'll show you how we can divide that afterward as well. So the first thing I'm going to do, as I said now, is to jump into a brand. This is a project of a brand called Plantorium. This is a shop that is dedicated to lifestyle and of course plants. I've created a full course, and that's another way of displaying. This is more like marketing and advertising on social media. This is a puzzle grid, which is created with a similar technique. If you want to know how to create all of that, I have a full course on LinkedIn, and I believe that you will be able to have access for free. If you go into my link tree, you have a 24 hours link to access, or you can DM me if it's not there. The course is this one here. It's called Social Media Designing a Consistent Brand, and it tells you step by step here how to create the full grid. Okay, we don't want to hear an out. So let's go ahead and start using the assets. So the reason why I'm here is because probably you create and work with brands and you have all these different assets. So how do we display them on social media? So we really kind of communicate, hey, this is my new brand, it's coming out. Maybe you're about to do a launch and or you're revamped your brand. The first thing that I'm going to do is either to create a library by clicking on create a new library and simply dragging inside all the different assets. I believe that I already have, as you can see, I heavily use my libraries. Strongly recommend you to use that as well. I'm just going to go ahead and type Plantorium because I know that I already create this library here, and as you can see, I have all the asset with Plantorium, so all the logo in different color, the branding, the PDF branding, and all sorts just sitting here inside Illustrator. And if I want to, I can also go ahead and start to drag in other elements. Let's go ahead, if we find the actual brand, here it is, Plantorium assets. Perfect, that's what we want. I can go ahead and click and drag to add any other assets I want. So here it is, and those are in terms of images, but also we could add the color palette. So in this case, for example, I can go ahead and select this color palette, which is the color palette of the image, or any other graphic like this one, for example, that has the full colors palette in use. And then I'm going to go ahead into my swatches panel. By the way, if you ever need to bring up a panel, you will have to add under the top window menu, and in this case I'm going to go ahead and bring up the swatches panel. And because I have a graphic that has already all my color, of course I already have that in this particular example, let me go ahead and actually paste that into the new file because I want to show you how to do it from scratch. So this is the graphic that has all the colors. In this case, I'm going to go ahead here. See, we do not have these particular swatches inside my swatches panel, but if you do go ahead and click on the new color group, you will be able to click on select artwork, and I'm going to call this one Plantorium. So once I do so, and I'm going to click on OK, you will see that here we have the swatches color. So we can put this graphic aside, and also by selecting this folder and clicking on the little library icon here, you will be able to move the selected swatches panel inside the library. So by simply clicking here it is, we have the Plantorium swatches automatically moving inside the library. That means that now I can go ahead and personalize any of these particular color assets into the actual color assets of the brand. And we can even move forward a little bit faster by using our magic wand tool that will allow us to select items that have the same appearance, and then either from the swatches panel or even better from the libraries panel, we can go ahead and select items of the same color and then simply change the colors in to the brand color. Now, as you can see here, we both changed these two oranges because they are very similar. If you want to make sure that this doesn't happen to you, just simply double click on it and make sure to bring your tolerance to 0. Remember, every time that you want to edit any options about a tool, double click on it, and most likely you're going to have a dialog box popping up that will allow you to edit it. So now look what happens. If I click again on the orange, I can go ahead and select each single color, and the tolerance that Illustrator will have will be much less, and therefore we just select the exact color that you are targeting in that moment. Perfect. So here we have some of the elements, some of the image, some of the brand, and so on. So what I'm going to do now is to start to bring perhaps the logo to start with. So I'm just going to go ahead here and bring the logo just like so. You can either click, let's go ahead and start by dragging in and click, because if you click once, what is it going to do is just going to bring the actual logo at the correct size. And the only thing that I'm going to have to do here is to start to position my graphics so they interact within the different image of the scroll. And that's where those little shapes were going to come into play. Now, something that I would advise you here, let me do it with another colors, the yellow is not really visible, is do not place the actual logo in between different images or different actually post that you can slide, because you don't really want to present a logo split in half. So what I tend to do is create a little bit of a suspense and a little bit of a catch by using right away an image. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag this little image that I have here. And then here I have a gradient, so I'm going to go ahead and use the gradient as the main background. And by the way, this is a freeform gradient that was already created inside Illustrator. You can see here that perhaps we will have to reshuffle the color to make sure that we have visibility inside the colors. So we have now here the colors in the center. Remember, if you want to align, like in this case, these particular versions of the logo inside this middle post, all you have to do is to head to the properties panel and click on the artboard. As you can see here, the artboard that I've selected as a slightly darker circle around. So here we have like a black line around it. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I align my object to the artboard, and I will align it horizontally. And then I can also align them between themselves. So choose a key object and make sure that they all have the same space between them. So for example, we can start for 20 pixels, and then we can press Command G to group them, and then again go back to align to the artboard, and making sure that we actually did group them with a Command G. We can then now make sure that they are aligned both in the center, vertically and horizontally. So what I've done here, I have the main aspect, in particular an image, then the logo. Then I can start to bring in things like, you know, this little image there. Actually, that's probably a little bit more catchy than the photo. And what you can have in transition are those shapes that I've prepared before, which they can act as a support for images, and you can use them as a transition between one slide and the other, and it will sort of create continuation. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to use the square. Maybe we can use these little lines over here. So even if this line, it will be split in half between your posts, it will not split the actual brand. So see, the logo is nicely there. Perhaps what I will do here is maybe give it a, you know, some sort of white background as well. Let's see if this color would work. Maybe it will clash with the white, with the yellow, sorry. So maybe just probably be the case better to leave our lovely background as it is. But again, the idea is to start to distribute the different assets from the brand. So I believe here I have different images. Let me go ahead and bring another image here, kind of like this one. Remember, if you click once, you will have the image full size, while if you click and drag, you will be able to actually control the size of your image. Look how playful and fun this is. Now, the beauty of creating carousel is that you really have infinite possibilities of adding as many number of carousel as you want, just like so. And of course, in this case, the only thing that we'll have to do is to make sure that we do stretch the background so we have enough space everywhere to display the actual assets. So for example, I kind of love this image. I feel this image really should take a little bit more about, because it really talks about the playfulness of the brand. So whenever you have images or anything that is particularly relevant for your brand, I would strongly recommend it to start to insert it inside the image, and then you can either repeat stuff like this line. But if we go back to our post here, we know that we have other assets, like perhaps this wiggly line that can allow you to create some lovely effect while you're presenting your images, just like so. And what if, for example, you have, let me go ahead and use this image, maybe it will work a little bit best. Maybe what if, for example, you have this side of the image that you wish to hide. So for example, you have, you know, the image here that is kind of coming across this line. Well, what you can do is to use one of these line over here. All you have to do is to make sure that you select it. Here it is. I think that's actually a group. Let's go ahead and try to select this line, Control C to copy. And then what you can do is just simply paste it on top with Command F. I'm just so conscious of the time. So here it is. We have a copy of the line. We have a copy of our image here. And then you can use the pen tool to make sure that you see this line. I'm just going to go ahead into my appearance panel. Let me go ahead. If we don't find it here, it will definitely be under the window menu, and we can undo the zigzag. That will make it so much easier. And from the here from the line, we can add point that will allow us to create a mask. So let's make sure that we go ahead and we intersect our little line here. So let's add a point to our image and another point over here, with the entire purpose of creating a mask. The time is ticking, and I think like I'm feeling super conscious of the time here. But the idea is that we can literally, by adding a point there, use our little your little white arrow to then move the point and perhaps create a shape that will allow you to mask your image. Now, it's much easier to do when we have a straight line or perhaps something like a frame, and all you have to do is to select it and then select the image underneath and use the Control 7 the Control 7 shortcut or Command 7 if you're on a Mac in order to hide it. Now, don't forget to bring it backward as well by using the Control left bracket or Shift left bracket. You will bring it absolutely behind. So probably that's what you want to do with your main illustration. And something else that you can do here is also to apply gradient that will allow you to hide the image. But you know the drill. So same thing here. We can use perhaps the circle. So in this case, I'm going to use the ellipse given the shape of the flower. And again, you can select them both and use Control 7 to create another mask. Now, don't forget that once you create this mask, you can always double click on them in order to move your shape. Here it is. Oops. Here it is. So you will enter the isolation mode, and by doing so, you're going to start to bring in all these lovely elements that will start to define your brand, just like so. Now, if you wish to export, of course, you can add the text, you can add quotes. See, for example, here I could pull out any of these lovely quotes for our, let me just see if we can bring this in for our little presentation. Words usually tend to be very powerful. Let's go ahead here, and first of all, it looks like I have missed an artboard. If that ever happens to you, don't forget that you can always select the artboards that you already have there. Head to properties, make sure to untick move the artwork. So if you click on the alt, we are duplicating the artboard, so we can literally add it in between, but we do not have the issue of duplicating the art. So here again, you can add images, you can add text, you can add graphics, you can add quotes, you can add whatever you want, and you can create continuity thanks to these images and those graphics that will sit in between, and will just kind of give you the idea of wanting to swipe more and to create interaction between the different shapes. Now, you can add mockups, you can add more images, you can layer one image on top of the other, so on and up to your desire, up to your brand. You can probably have display packaging. Maybe you can have your brand missions or whatever else you particularly prefer. Make sure to stick to the color palette of your brand. That is extremely important. And once you're done, all you're left to do is to go ahead and simply use the Control-Alt-E shortcut, and you will see that you already have your posts over here that are ready to be exported. So all you have to do is to find a folder inside your machine. In this case, I'm just going to go real quick into my desktop, and I'm going to go ahead and select my desktop folder and making sure that I create a subfolder so as all my images, and I simply go ahead and click on export artboard. Of course, you can select the format as well, and by doing so, we'll see that we're gonna have a window that opens up and has as lovely PNGs ready to be, this is part of a last week's stream, let me put it away, ready to be posted inside Instagram. Now, of course, the rule is that you will have to post from the number 5, so the further one to the right, to the very first one. So remember, because we already named it, we have Instagram post copy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, you're gonna have to go 5, 4, 3, 4, 1, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in order to make sure that then you swipe it in the right direction. So we have created, we use the artboard, we use the element, we use the branding elements, and we exported. Last thing to do, open your Instagram and make sure to share your brand assets with the world. I really hope you enjoyed this stream. Don't forget that there is so much more coming up here at Adobe Live. Unfortunately, it is that time to say goodbye, but I will definitely catch you tomorrow with another stream. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.